I think we both know, Bruce, that that isn't the case, regardless of what you say. Certainly, I'd even argue whether you could even call me a flyer at times, the way I do seem to deal with some of things. Anyway, hello. It is Sunday night again. Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. I hope you are all safe and well. I hope you've had an interesting week. It has been a flat-out one for me. Oh, I've left the autofocus on the Sony, and it's messing around. Good evening, Robert. Let's make sure we've spoke to the people who are. Hello, everyone who is here watching tonight. So, good evening, Bruce. Good evening, Grumpy. Good evening, Ghost. Good evening, Brandon Beans. Good evening, David Owens. Floor, how are you, Floor? Yes, the guy's an asshole. I'll just leave that there. Grumpy Arse. Good evening. GMI, how are you? Hope you are safe, my friend. Free Range Chicken RC, howdy. Who else we got there? BB Junkie, good evening. Quads with Mods, hello. So how is everyone? Depending on what you... Ghost FB, good evening. How are you, my friend? I hope everyone is well. It's been a really busy week for me. I've been trying to get everything tied up because I'm on holiday. I'm actually leaving to go away for a few days tomorrow. Good evening, Gary. I was going to call you Gary. Good evening, Mark. Let's call the bad autofocus Dynamon foreground vocal. Yeah, I'm going to have to turn that off. And 1 second. I'll sort that now. It's only a button press. Now, some might argue I left the autofocus on so I could get up and leave the chair in shot. Some might argue I do that on purpose, but I don't. Honestly. So, I forgot to turn the Sony off autofocus. It's being confused by that. So, tonight's live stream. Okay, there's some things to talk about. I'm going to give you some thoughts on this. I have a Mambo. I bought a Mambo. I have spent so much money in the last week. It's ridiculous. It is insane. Because allegedly YouTubers get everything for free. No. Not in my world. Let's just put it that way. I get a little bit now and again, but the reality is most of the time you end up paying for it, and that's a good thing, because at the end of the day you're then no one's slave and you can say what you want. Not that I don't say what I want anyway. However, yes, this week we ordered the new Fat Shark goggles, which will be here probably Wednesday while I'm away. What I've actually done with them is diverted them to where I am. They're going to go into a drop-off point where I'm actually staying, local to me, because there'll be no one at home. So I will actually have them in hands midweek, but I won't be flying them until I come back anyway. Oh, Visor is a good point, Bruce, actually. Visor. The Mambo arrived, and I'll talk a bit about this. The Speedy B frame's in. I haven't assembled it yet. I'm not going to talk a lot about this. I'm going to talk about the some antennas as well. Now, they did send me these for free, so I will put that out there. Yes, we ended up going Crossfire as well. So why go Tracer when you can go Crossfire and Tracer? And I will be doing a proper review on this, because I've got a lot to say about this radio, an awful lot to say. Oh, there's an empty box going on the floor. And it's interesting. It really is interesting. And I'm going to tell you guys tonight some of my thoughts on that up front, because you amazing people, you don't want to have to watch my actual content because you come here for the live stream. So for those of you who come to the live stream, you amazing, fantastic people, you get to hear it first before it actually goes out on the channel. So it's going to be interesting to play with it a bit more over time, but I have got some really interesting thoughts up front on it. Now, Bruce, have you had the Mambo? I don't know if you have or not. I can't remember. Just getting down, bad autofocus, call it analog, chair shot, face tracking Mambo. Yeah, I think it was. I think it was tracking from what you can see, there, the little face on the front of the remote. Nice cheer, though, David Owens. There is an affiliate link to that cheer in the description of your video. Rob Muller, hi, Mad. Is there an NFC hack for the DJI, an NFC hack for the DJI FPV, and it works together with FCC hack? There is. Okay. So, yeah, there has been some stuff this week, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. Get down the things. Oh, it's been GMI visuals. I feel loved. You are a good guy. Good. RF868 module fits the. Does the RFD868 module fits the Mambo? It will fit. I haven't actually tried it. There's no reason it won't work though. So the RF868 module should work. I haven't tested it, but I will do that. I have the Mambo. Yeah, this is a really interesting product, and it's okay. It's interesting in the sense of it's actually quite cheap, and I'm gonna give you my thoughts in it before we go into anything else, because we'll get that out the way first. And I have really fallen in love with this remote. It's not in the box, by the way. That's empty. It's actually here. And I really have fallen in love with it. However, there's a lot that could be better. Now, as you can see, I've got it. I have a nice TPU 3D mounted thing on the front. I've got the crossfire in the back. Okay, the basics are, I love the form factor and size of this radio. It is, for me, perfect. So, if you're someone who's used to flying with the DJI FPV radio, so mine is, wait there, you just grab it. Okay, let's grab some radios here. Okay, so if we just grab a couple, I'm going to put them over there, and let's go clean for this a minute. So, if we just line these up. Okay, so, if you're someone who has flown with this, I think you will like the Mambo. Okay, I really do. Yes, it's a little bit bigger, but I've always liked the DJI radio size. I personally find this too big. I personally find it a little bit large for my average use, for me. I find this great, and I really like the size on the Mambo. It's really, for me, just right. That's what I'll say about it. I don't peel plastic off screens. I leave it on to stop them getting scratched. Yes, Bruce, everything's on the board. The Mambo, it's just perfect on size. It really is. Now, what I'll do is let me just pull off the TPU cover, because I printed this to help keep it clean. Sticks feel good. They are Hall effect. Everything is what you would expect there. No problem at all. Switches, I'll be honest, feel cheap to me. I'm of the opinion the switches do feel a little bit cheap. Knobs, okay. Fine. The potentiometer's good. Everything else feels okay. Where my issues with this radio lies is its actual fit and finish. Okay. So the build quality, I don't think is very good. So I'm going to tell you about 2 or 3 areas. Right. The casing on this has molding marks all over it. Now, I'm not talking about the molding mark there for the antenna. I'm just talking, when you look at the plastics, nothing looks even. There's sort of sheens and finishes to it that are off the molding process. It's not physically on the surface, but when you look at it, things do look a little bit off at places at times. Like, I don't know if you can see it right there. Can you see that there is a dark hoop on the bottom there? I can just you can just see it there. There's some like strange just discolorations on the plastic in places on it. Nothing terrible, but you just look at it and think, okay. It's not together that tight. Like, I can actually push it, and the plastics move and seal up. That button feels all right, not great. Happy with the that one. I'm okay with. That one just feels a bit thin. It feels like a cheap radio, okay? And just to show you something else, right? I'm going to take that out, right? Put the module back in. Look at the wobble, right, on that. Bearing in mind, this is a TBS to TBS product here. You know, this isn't another manufacturer. So when I'm holding this, it rattles because of the module. So it's little things like that that let this radio down. From a functionality point of view, it does what you expect. Okay, I haven't flown it extensively yet. So what I've just done now is put a bit of foam in and stop the radio rattle. Functionality is basically OpenTX. I know it's Freedom TX or whatever they call it. But it's basically OpenTX. The screen's nice, no problems with the screen, gimbals. My complaint with this radio is the quality. It feels to me like a cheap radio, and it is a cheap radio. It isn't that expensive. It really isn't that expensive. You know, if you compare it to this thing from DJI is like $300, I think, or $220. So I really like the form factor. I really like its functionality. I just think the quality lacks, but the price does reflect that as well. So I think probably the right term to use was I was expecting more from TBS, the brand. What they've delivered is a product which I think probably meets the price bracket it's in, but my expectation was more. And that's really what I'm going to say on it. Really. I'm looking forward to putting it to a lot more flight time this week. I'm not disappointed in it, and it will become my main radio. I've already decided that. There will have to be something fundamentally wrong with it for me to move away. The only thing actually I really don't like, there's like only one thing I don't like, and that's the power button. It's shocking. It should never, it's a horrible power button. A horrible design. Horrible design. It's the only thing I don't like is the power button. Other than that, it feels nice in the hand. I do know the someone just said about the other version just now. I forgot what it's called. I put a glass screen protector on yours. If you've got a link to it, Robin, put it in the description. I wouldn't mind getting one, please. Did you find one the right size to fit it? That would be really interesting. I'd be worried the internals are not much better. Yeah, I've seen some teardowns and I've not seen any issues. I haven't taken mine apart. I might do it for the main review just to have a look at how my one is. Give it the old Mads Tech. I think it's a cracking bass. I just wish it felt... It's little things. Do you know what I mean? It's like that module rattle. You know, let me drop the piece of foam out. You know, okay, you can solve it like with a piece of foam. But... You know, what we're talking here is a crossfire module from TBS to a TBS radio. This should all be snug. Shouldn't be getting that. That's just shocking. That just really is shocking. And is it me being picky? A little bit. But, you know, it's fine once you do that. The only concern, obviously, if the switches break, they're mounted to the PCB directly. They're not going to be easy to fix. What would be really nice if and I don't know they haven't done this, but it would be really nice if they made the switches available for users to order. I'm guessing you'll be able to get them from them, but it would be nice if they make it to order. That also concerns me a little bit. It feels okay on the button, but the rotary a bit, you just think, I suppose loose is better than it not fitting at all, 50RC. Yeah, I guess it is. But no, so, look, my thoughts on the Mambo, and there's a lot more to come on this on the video, but the basic thoughts on the Mambo is it's a really nice radio from a size point of view. For me, especially if you like the DJI one, I think you will really feel at home with this. It's got all the functionality you would expect. I just think the build quality leaves a lot to be desired, and I would have expected more from the TBS brand. However, the price of this radio should be taken into account. Oh, and I wish they made it with Crossfire and not Tracer. I just wish you could have it as Crossfire instead of Tracer. But yeah, but I'm going to be testing it a lot more this week. But yeah, and when you order it, it doesn't come with batteries. You need to get yourself some 18650s. So if you do order one, make sure you order yourself some 18650s. So that's that. So let me just pop that back on there. And I've just got this little cover, which is a 3D printed TPU one. Someone did a Crossfire internal mod. That'd be cool. To be honest, I'd be tempted on that. Tracer above Crossfire. Yeah, and I'm going to run both systems. To give you an idea, I'm going to be running Tracer on the new Sharkbite build, which is at a stop at the moment because I need a cable and a camera. So this is Tracer. As you can see, I've got the antennas mounted there. But on my DJI stuff, I've currently got it now as Crossfire. And my plan is to retire this. I will be honest. I will be retiring this now. I'm going to be using the Mambo for everything. Look at the quality inside. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. We will do that as part of the main review. Absolutely. We will do it as part of the main review. Mambo feels pretty tight to me. Yeah, look, it's just little bits that makes me think, oh, I wish it was more. And I'll openly say this. This feels, in many ways, a bit higher quality in some aspects. Not all, some aspects. But I just think this is a little bit... I don't need radios this big anymore. Yeah, simple as that. But I'm really interested in that glass screens cover. If you do find it... Was it you, Robin? If you do, can you either email me or send me a message? I'd love to see. I need to go and have a look for one. Okay. 2-minute tear down, yeah, and I'm not tearing it down live on the stream. I will break it if I tear it down live on the stream, and I'm going away tomorrow, and I need it. So, no, behave. Okay, so, catching up on the chat a second before we get into the bit, and someone mentioned what we're going to get into. No, we haven't spoke about Autel yet. That's something else we will speak about. I would have stuck with the TX60 myself. Mambo fits my hands perfect. It does me as well, Ghost. It is, like, for me, the perfect size radio. And the DJI one was as well, for me. I loved the size of the DJI radio. Absolutely no issues at all. Just, it's not ideal for mixed systems. The added Tracer, more money for more money. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's a bad radio. I'm just saying, I think the quality of it reflects in the price. So, okay. What about Runcam and DJI? So, Wind Jumpy FPV. Now, before we get into it, guys, I just want to say, if you are new here, welcome to the live stream. I do appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the like button. Give us a like. Give us a like. We've only had 12 of them. So, let's talk about this DJI thing. Okay, so Oscar put out this news thing. Now, this is interesting, and let me be clear. I'm not saying he's lying. I'm not saying he's got it wrong. All I'm saying is he's the only place to post this. I have seen no official posts from any of the companies around this, and I am 100% believing this is happening. However, it's just interesting. Oscar Lang got it, and it's not. I've not seen it anywhere else. And there's also an interesting development after this of how active Runcam have got in all of the DJI groups overnight. Literally, they are everywhere as well. So this all ties into the same thing. But the information is this: Runcam will become an official partner for the DJI FPV system after Cadex. Exciting news. Now, let's just read this, because you can interpret this two ways. Runcam will be an official partner of DJI after Cadex. So that means one of two things. They are either replacing Cadex, or they mean alongside. It's just a strange wording, and I think it's alongside. However, you just can read that a couple of ways. You really can. But anyway, they're going to be producing products. Yes, Runcam will also be selling Vistas and Nebula Pro 2. I'm not sure about the Nebula Pro. This sort of alludes that DJI designed the Nebula Pro, because Nebula is a Caddx naming. So I think there's some things not quite right in that article in that. I'm not expecting to see it be quite labelled the same. That doesn't really make sense. It reads almost though like Caddx is getting axed, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But they're under different names most likely, which is correct. You know, I'm not expecting them being the same. The Runcam MIPI will be controlled to work, estimated time of release, background, and it goes into this. So, okay, so we got this statement, DJ going to be working with Runcam. Now, the real interesting thing for this for me, having been at the centre of this entire mess... Yes, Bruce, yeah, I know where you're going. Having been sort of at the centre of this whole mess, I don't believe for 1 second this was on the cards before we as a community blew everything up. That's my belief on this. I don't think for 1 second this was around the corner. Now, the interesting thing on this is this. When we did cause that bit of trouble, and we got the upset a few people, to say the least, is I had a statement sent to me from DJI that used the words misleading information, okay? And that statement was saying that you may have seen misleading information online regarding the DJI cameras not working with air units. Now, I was sent that statement, and I asked the question, and I've discussed this on my other live streams at the time. Are you saying I'm being misleading? Because when I read the statement that was sent to me, and let me just find the statement, just so it'll be on my... I put it on my blog, I think, on the channel. Community tab. Sorry, let me just find it. Let me put it up. Here. So I had a statement from DJI. So here it is. So here was the statement of this from DJI. The DJI FPV system will remain open to all users. We've encountered some misleading information online that claims the system will be encrypted for certain cameras, and we would like to state publicly for our users that these claims are untrue. Users can upgrade their firmware for an optimized experience of the system. So that was the statement I had from DJI, and then we had the statement from Caddx, which was a bit different. Caddx basically said they will no longer be locking the system down. We'll be compatible on every Pro and other cameras. Considering the concerns of many users, we must be responsible. We will no longer push the encryption upgrade. So they were doing it. You know, I've had a few people say, oh, they weren't going to do it. That is, they were doing it. So DJI came out and said misleading information. Now, I did say to them, hold on a minute. Are you saying I'm misleading? And the words where I had were, not you. What you read was how it's interpreted online. You read it as it was put out. We're not saying you were misleading. Now, they didn't say who they thought was misleading, but JB actually put a very funny post on his group on it, which was, well, hold on. If they're not, it's not exactly misleading when it's in the marketing material. So, this all gets really interesting when you read this, because I could be wrong here, but I think we pushed them into this. And I'm not gonna take credit. I honestly think whatever the size of the impact was, I think we sort of did this as a community. Now, I know, Gary, you said not we, you. Okay, look, I had my part to play in it, which I did, and I'll let everyone else say what they think is right, and I'll use the word we, because at the end of the day, whilst I was the mouthpiece, it still took you guys, the community, behind me to make a change happen. But I don't think this was on the cards before. I fundamentally think we pushed them into this. So it's cool. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. We're going to get more cameras from Runcam. brilliant news. Now, someone posted something really interesting just now. They said that they've changed. Let's go on Runcam's website. Have they updated their website now to say it's an official supported camera? Because they've been like really active. Compatible with digital FP. So they've cancelled that out. So have they added... Someone said something about them adding it for... official DJI support. Have they... I can't see anything here, but they might... sort of... Have they added anything on this? They say not for shark bite, obviously. But have they changed it? You know, they've got a... Have they got a store as well? Yeah, they've got a store, so they might have changed it on their store. Compatible with DJI FP. So they've added that, you see, now. Interesting indeed, isn't it? It's a very interesting situation, but it's big news. So, Runcam come in, you know, Oscar got this first. It's interesting that it's gone to him. I don't know how, whether Runcam have reached out to him, because DJI, I've not seen a statement from DJI at all on this, unless I've missed it. If anyone has seen it from DJI, please let me know, unless I've missed it. But yeah, look, we welcome more people involved. We're going to see more cameras, which is good. You know, there's nothing not to like in this. There's nothing not to like in this. Were you suggesting, Bruce, that they're all the same company earlier, by the way? I'm just going to catch up on the chat. Perhaps getting a Cadex. BB Junkie, that was the hint I had. I'm not going to say it was. Oh, they're going to tell me anything. No, look, I am... When you pull the stunts that I pulled, working with vendors becomes less easy, is what I will say. Okay. And Bruce will know what I mean by that. And I'm not saying all vendors. I have some really fantastic companies I got to work with, and I still do, like Q Pilot, Philip, who appreciate the honesty, the feedback, and you know, often I'll work with them to improve the system. That's how it works, you know. And I've been lucky to have a hand in a few things here and there. And I've been massively supported by Ben at 3DXR, you know, through that side. Massive support from them. So I've been lucky. But when you do pull a stunt like I did 3 times, and let's not forget it was 3 times, I doubt I'm on DJI's or Cadex's Christmas card list, to say the least. Now, I did put my review out this week of the Nebula, or the Polar Starlight, for those who have seen it. And it's interesting. It seems to have gone down really well, because it's interesting. I did it a bit later than everyone else, and it does seem to have gone down that I've managed to pick up. Oh, Bobby Bags, do not crash. You are a superstar, and you will have this today. You will smash it. But yeah, look, the reality is it can make life a little bit difficult. But it is what it is. So it's good news on the Runcam thing. We're going to have to see how it goes. The talk of September, October time before we see anything coming on it. What I will say is this. When there's a supply of stuff, I would buy it up. I'll be honest. So if the cameras become available, sort yourself out. Get plenty. You don't want to be in this position again. Oh, yeah, the GoPro adds a bit on top. I don't really fly with the GoPro much these days. To be honest, I need to buy myself a new GoPro. I need to get myself a new GoPro. I'm going to have to buy a Hero 8, I think. I want proper Rocksteady on one now. Okay, guys. So, BB and the Cadex and DJI are the same company. I wouldn't be shocked if there's a tie-in, Robin, with DJI and Cadex somewhere. But Cadex also do a lot of other stuff too. What I do think is this: is if DJI had, I think DJI had originally parked the system. So my thoughts on this whole thing, having been at the center of some of the controversy, is this. Just before the FPV drone, supply of cameras ran out. DJI basically went, we're not going to make them anymore. We're basically going to move this into the sort of mid-phase of DJI's product cycle, and they threw it at Cadex. Remember the statement they put out that said they won't be making parts, but third party will be taking that up. I think DJI, for all intents and purposes at that point, wrote the system off. They were still making the Vision 2 goggles because they got to make the goggles for the drone. But from an air unit point of view and from a camera point of view, they just threw it at Cadex and went, you carry on with that for a bit. And as far as I think happened, I think they basically, the system was moved into end of life unofficially in the background. I then think Cadex sort of got involved and was trying to, new cameras, we got the other cameras and stuff like that, and they're trying to develop as they would. But I think DJI were basically out of the game. And that's why we ended up having all of the issues we had. The V2s launched, a shocking launch on the V2s. If you look at that launch on the V2 goggles, it was a disaster, okay? The second the standard goggles disappeared, they put out a statement to dealers to say the whole system was end of life. They then released the V2 goggles early without telling anyone. They literally told the media 6 hours before. They didn't even tell the likes of JB they were doing it until like 6 hours before. The only reason I had the first video up on the V2 goggle launch, I was the first. And the reason I was the first, because they did it in a time zone outside of the US and didn't tell anyone. And I was like, oh, this has gone live. Let's talk about it. And they did that. Then they released the drone and screwed everything up with the FPV system. And then we ended up having people buying the goggles they couldn't activate because they were in drone mode. No way of switching back. Then we found the bug with people being stuck in drone mode when the goggles reset. Then we had the bug of them blacking out in flight. And then we had this. It was shocking, that launch. So I think the whole thing was coming to an end. But I think we woke them up. And I honestly think as a community, we sort of went, hello, we're still here. And we're going to make a lot of noise if you don't look after us. And I honestly think that's what we ended up doing. And I honestly do think that's what we ended up doing. And add on top of that, this was right when they were pushing their FPV drone product. So they couldn't ignore it either. And I will be brutally honest, when I did a few of those things I did, I knew what I was doing in the sense of the point in time I was doing it, and you had to strike whilst the iron was hot. So, for instance, if they'd have just released a new Mavic, our noise would not have got seen. It wouldn't have mattered. They'd have just drowned out. But because they were sitting there trying to push the FPV drone, and you had this FPV community shouting, it's impacting that. They're directly related products. It's the same system. It's the same goggles. So they couldn't ignore it. Because on the one hand, you've got this new system which they're trying to market and push out, and then you've got us lot kicking off holy hell in the background going, well, what about this? However, if a Mavic had been released, not the FPV drone, I honestly don't think we'd have got anywhere. So I will be under no illusion. When I did say some of the things I said, it was with a mindset of, I'm hoping it will get seen this way and this impact. And it did. And I think we were able to achieve that. But it'll be interesting to see. And plus the FPV drone was exploding left, right and centre. It was, So we managed to achieve something. I think we've now put the system very much back in their spotlight. And I think that's what we've done. And that's good news. So well done to you guys. It's a massive thank you. And and that's what I think we're at with it. Okay, to catch up on the chat. Now, guys, if you've got any questions as we're rolling through, please do put them in the chat. It is a Q&A as well, so if you do have any, let me catch up. Christmas cards, they send me a box of ticking noise. Ghost FPV. So what's Ghost FPV? Oops, late again. No, Ghost. They're all owned by the Chinese government. Yes. Okay. I fly with Orbis Hybrid most of the time. Extra V2 Hybrid. I mean, Cadex potentially doing DJI series development now. Okay, so they are working on this OSD thing. So what I'll tell you is this, and I haven't quite said this yet. Okay. In the talks I had, and I haven't fully explained this outside of a small few people, in the talks I had with Cadex when that was all kicking off, so DJI approached me and Cadex approached me separately. They reached out to me and they were very nice. They were very friendly. Fantastic guy who reached out. No issues there at all. Really appreciate some chats with them. It's a really good talks and everything as well. I'm not going to go into that because it was private. But what I will say is this. We had some talks around this canvas mode thing. And I just said, look, this is important to people. We need to get this done. Now, I did try to sort of find out or understand what development was being done by Cadex and what development was being done by DJI, and they had no interest in discussing that at all. They wouldn't even go there. However, what they did say to me was this, which was, look, we're interested in doing more. Do you have any information on canvas mode? Can you share it with us? We want to give it to our engineering team. We want to pass it on to the people. So I put them in touch with Yapu. Yapu is the ArdraPilot dev who was fundamental for implementing canvas mode and MSP OSD in ArdraPilot. Alex was the person I sent my FPV goggles to when he was looking to test it. And I also put Alex in touch with Carl at DiviMath some time back as well. I can't remember if I put Alex in touch with Carl or Carl in touch with Alex. I need to check my messages. I definitely sort of linked those two together a little bit, and they all talked. So Alex has also been talking to Cadex about MSP DisplayPort, which is canvas mode. So the interesting thing in all of this is, for me, I've been able to play a very small part in linking this with DJI, with Sharkbite and ArdraPilot and Round in a Circle. But Alex is an absolute legend. Yapu. He wrote the MSP support for ArdraPilot, and he's been really pushing this. And I hope they're paying him. I hope DJI, Cadex, and DiviMath, whoever he's worked with, all of these guys, I hope Alex is getting looked after in this, because he is an absolute superstar of a bloke and absolutely fantastic. So I sent them over a load of info on display MSP DisplayPort, which is canvas mode, and then I put them directly in touch with Alex. I reached out to Alex and said, do you mind talking to these guys? And he went no, and then they shared some emails, and I haven't caught up with it from there. I'll message Alex later and find out what the score is. Alex knows what the score is. You know, me and Alex talk, and yeah, so they are definitely looking at it now, 100%, but whether it will happen or not, I don't know. I really don't know. So I hope that answers the whole DisplayPort thing as well. So I've been able to play a very, very small part in that. Alex, who is an absolute legend, is the guy who's behind it and giving as much info out on it as possible, because there is different implementations of it as well. It's not quite as straightforward as just implementing it. Okay, guys, so that's that on that. If you've got any questions, please give us a like. If you are watching, there are 70 of you. Good evening to the live stream. I hope you are safe and well. If you're new here, please do consider hitting the subscribe button. If you'd like to support the channel, there are links in the description. Consider super chats are always welcome as well. I'm going to do the shilling and get that out the way. If anyone would like to support us, super chats are always welcome. I have spent £1,000 this week on equipment. Every little helps. Hey, Jake, how are you? Nice to see you in the stream. For those who don't know, Jake is a proper YouTuber. He's not like me and the rest of these nonsense guys, right? Jake is what I would call a proper creator. Someone who actually does this properly and produces some amazing content. It's a bit cold though, Jake, where you are. Some of Jake's stuff is fantastic. Please, if you haven't seen his channel, check him out. He's a proper creator, not this nonsense that I do. He really is. He makes drone related content. I'm going to put it up because he's just too good not to put up. Such a good. Use Jake's channel. If you haven't seen it, he's got fantastic channel. Always lots of snow. It looks very cold where he is. Look at it. See but he does stuff on DJI. But look, this is what a proper creator does. See, look, he makes proper content. Look, none of this nonsense that I make. Just look at that. Just look how that looks. Look at this man. Look. Oh, we're gonna have to watch his advert now as well. We need to make sure he gets his. We're gonna have to make sure he gets his money. There we go. This is A7. He's got a lovely studio as well, or his home. Not his studio, but his home. See, proper creator. Look, see, this is a man who knows what he's doing. So, if you're into camera gear and into drones, do check out Jake's channel. He's a good guy. He really, really is. Just checking down the chat. Right. Okay. Is ProTuber lighted? Yeah. Jake has it nailed. Jake, there's a few channels which have nailed how their channel looks, and it's something that I notice being a bit of a camera guy as well. Jake, Ken Dobo, Ken's doing some lovely stuff now as well. These boys, I can guarantee, like Jake, are you using a Sigma lens? What are you on these days? Did you move to the S5? Are you still on the Sonys? And if you're on the Sonys, you're probably on a Sigma, and you're probably on the 16mm, if I'm right. Come on, have I got it? Let's see if I've got it. I'll be adding fireside light into my setup this winter. It looks really nice, you know. Jake's and I'll be honest, Jake's channel is up there with the channels like iPhonedo and how those channels look as well. He has a really nice look, and the content's great. Like, the content's amazing anyway. It's, you know, but the channel always looks classy. It really does. So yes, that's a man that knows how to do it properly. I don't only shoot with the Tamron. Ah, yes, it's a Sony again. See, it's always Sonys. There's a look on the Sonys. Oh, this is a Sony mount, but this is an A6400 on here with the Sony, with the worst value lens I ever bought, which is the 18-105. Not a good lens. Cool. Right. The next thing we need to talk about. We need to talk about the new Fat Shark goggles because they're out. They've turned up to people. Okay, let's get on Get FPV. Where are they? They are the Scout HDs. So these have this week turned up into some people's hands. Mine are en route. They'll be here midweek. A lot of the reviews will be up before them. This is the new HD onlys. Okay, these are going to be controversial in how people talk. Now, something I just want to mention first. These are still in stock. If you want to order a set, they're still there. Now, I'm not sure if that says good things or bad things. I'm just going to put that out there in the sense of how many were available, we don't know. But JB ordered his own set today. JB will probably get his set before mine arrive in the UK, and I ordered on day one. But anyway, they're out. You can order them, and the first reviews have gone live. Now, there was a few reviews that have gone up. This gentleman here, RTRC, he's a British guy, really good video. And if you've seen his video, he was quite disappointed in them. He really, really was quite disappointed in them. He had 3 main issues. Now, I'll come back to this section in a sec. His main issues with this. Number 1, that he was getting reflections on the lens, so he could see the menus reflecting inside because it's a single screen with a lens. Number 2, that he couldn't update the firmware because they didn't include the cable in the box, and they haven't with anyone, and that is a problem. And 3, I can't remember what his third issue was. It was fairly minor. I can't remember what it was, his third issue. But the big one was the reflections on the lens. Okay, cool, Jake. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. That is massively appreciated. Really, really. Thank you, mate. I do appreciate that massively, especially from you as well. So he had 3 main issues on this. I thought you were going to say reflections of someone staring back at him. No, Bruce. So what he's talking about on the reflections is this. And I think he tries to show it. It's a good video as well, so it's worth a look. And I don't disagree with anything he said. Now, he felt a bit disappointed. Does he show it? Right, I can't remember. Does he? So what he said is this. He could see the menus reflected in the glass. Now, I have seen this before on the original DJI FPV goggles because they used a similar setup with a second piece of glass that reflects the top screen, because the original DJI goggles had 2 screens. You had one at the back for one eye and one at the top for the other eye, and then they used a lens, a mirror glass, to reflect them through. Now, it seems to be that these reflections only happen on the black screen with the bright menus. In flight, it doesn't appear to happen. It only seems to be when you're looking at the black screen with the menus, and other people have confirmed that as well. So I don't think that's going to be a big issue, but I can understand the comments on it. The other issue is having issues. He couldn't update the firmware on his module because to update SharkBite's firmware, there's no SD card on board. So you have to attach your ear units to your goggles, and they didn't include the cable. So there are a few little teething issues here. And he did feel that he was quite disappointed. You know, when I watched his video, he wasn't particularly happy. He just felt it wasn't really what he expected, and it wasn't up there with DJI especially. So it's some valid comments. However, there has been a few more reviews come out today, and these guys aren't as much reviews. They're just overviews, actually. There's some really nice ones here. And they've sort of confirmed already. So if we look at the lens, there's the lens set up in the goggles there, which is removable. There isn't a built-in battery on these as well, by the way. You do have to add your own LiPo. I thought there was a built-in battery, which there isn't. And you've got the control buttons. And everyone else seems a little bit okay with them. Not shocking, not terrible, but not perfect. So I'm waiting to see what I think. Mine are on their way. They should be here probably Tuesday, whilst I'm away. I think these are a very interesting proposition. I said this last week on the stream. I do think they've made some mistake. I think it should have had analog. I think it should have had a bay. There is an air of negativity against the system. GMI 100%. Now, it's funny. I get accused a lot of being a DJI shill. I've always have been. Yet I'm the guy arguing for this system. I've been talking about it on JB's group. I've been talking about it on RC groups. But there are no free passes here. You know, there is some issues, and you have to be open and honest about them. And the issue with SharkBite up until now is that it just didn't make enough sense beyond analog. And what I mean by that is this. When you put the DJI system on for the first time, it blew you away. Image quality and range was fantastic. Those two were enough to convince you to go into it. Then you had to deal with the latency issue, and you would have to decide if the latency was a problem for you. The problem with SharkBite up until now has been this. The cost of it did not bring much benefits. The words I used on this on RC groups was dramatically better. It was not dramatically better than very good analog. I'm not saying it wasn't better, but it wasn't enough. If you think the cost you were paying, so you had to buy the module at $250, the VTX at $100, the camera at $50, so you were in for $400 plus, and what you got was better than analog in many ways, but only just. So my argument is, from a price to performance improvement, the benefit was minuscule. Now, for those who wanted digital and had latency as their main important factor, absolutely, SharkBite made total sense and still does. It trumps DJI in that respect, no question. But what you have to weigh up is, how much better than analog is it for $400? And that's if you had a fully compatible set of goggles already. And that's my argument. You know, I'm not saying the system's bad, but what I was saying is this. Yes, DJI was $700-800, but everyone accepted that it was worth it. You know, DJI really didn't market the digital FPV system at all, right? If you look at this system, it really wasn't marketed at all. The whole user base on the DJI system is from users. People trying it and going, I like that. There was barely any marketing for the DJI system out and out. They just put it on the market. All the later marketing came with Rotor Riot. Now, that's later. That wasn't there in the early days. That's only now. Whereas, you know, for me, the problem with SharkBite was it just wasn't enough. And it's not that the system was the issue. The camera was shocking. You know, that camera, the original camera, the Nano HD, the camera is fine. The lens is absolutely shocking. I've got the HD0 lens coming for that. So that's going to be a big improvement. So I'm not saying for some people it wasn't a massive benefit. But the racing community, yes. Racing community loved it. Brilliant. But I think for general FPV, it just didn't bring enough to the table to warrant for $450 over analog. Some may agree with that and some won't. I was just watching GMI. Yeah, they fixed the latency and shit. I mean, it's been very important. It's 10 times better than analog. I would argue on 10 times. I'm not convinced on that. Yeah, I don't care about the power switch. Power switch is irrelevant. I don't care about a power switch. I just pull the battery out. As long as the goggles reset back into the same mode. And that's always been my argument with the system. It's not that it's bad. I didn't think back then it made enough of an impact. However, and I have written this today on RC Groups, and I will say it now, I fundamentally think this is the start. There's a fly attacking me. This is the start of this system really beginning to take off. So let's now look at the cost today, because now you don't have to have a set of HDO2s. Now you can get these goggles for $250. You can get a VTX for $50 and a camera for $50. So you're in for $350. That is much better than where we were at before. And that is a much better proposition. With the new HD0 camera coming from Carl, which is coming very, very soon, there has been some issues on that, but that is coming as well. That is going to push things along. I do have one of those cameras coming, the HD0. However, I will not be reviewing it because I have out and out said to Carl at his request that no one reviews it, so I will not be reviewing that camera. the one I am being sent. I need it for a build. I massively appreciate them actually sending me one. But I won't be reviewing the model that I have been sent on their request because it is free and it has a known issue if you've been following it. So I have to be fair on that. What I do want to hopefully be able to say on it is that the image quality is so much better than the other camera. That's what I'm hoping. I'm not reviewing it. I want to be able to say you guys are going to love this camera when it comes, and that's what I'm hoping to be able to say. But I've also ordered the HD0 lens for the Nano HD, which also is meant to be really good too. Really good too. In open spaces, no, and look, we can argue, you know, as Jimmy says, in the Wonderland very often Sharkbite system handles the environment better than DJI on higher power. Interesting. Are you running the big VTX GMI? Is it the 700? What is it? 600, isn't it? Yeah, you know, now these goggles are not perfect. They're not going to be for everyone. Look, let's look at this. The Scout HDs. Okay, you got both. I haven't fired up my... I'm waiting on the longer cable. I need the longer cable. It's 500. Yeah, I'm going to be trying the 250 once I get the cable for the camera. Because I need a cable for the build. I think this really puts digital in a new path. It puts... Oh, go away. This puts digital in the price market of around $350. And I think it's really, really interesting. I really do think it's interesting. My only complaint with the Sharkbite community is the guys need to get away from this. For them to win, DJI must fail attitude. Now, this actually is really interesting. I take that comment from Steve Jobs, okay? And this was Apple's problem for a very long time. Before Steve went back to Apple, Apple had this attitude of for Apple to win, DJI had to fail. Sharkbite just needs to carve its market. Now, up till now, its one trump card had been latency. However, if we get the new camera, that may bring in image quality on par. And then we're just talking range. And maybe with a milliwatt, 1 watt, and other stuff like that, then you really begin to see competition. So there is some interesting stuff. You know, another thing on Sharkbite this week was Carl has said they're going to work on bringing audio from that end. Someone has asked about adding in audio, and Carl said, yeah, technically there's no reason they can't do it. There is no need for DJI to lose for Sharkbite to win. All Sharkbite has to do is deliver a system that makes more sense than analog. It doesn't have to make more sense than DJI. It just has to make more sense than analog. And I will be blunt, I don't feel it massively did, apart from a small subset of users up until now. So that's where we're at on that at the moment. We're just waiting now to see where this all goes. Because they don't have adaptive bitrate, Bruce says they'll never deliver the same performance. No, you're never going to get the same range, I don't think, as it is. I think if we can get close to it, though, it'll be interesting. I will be doing a full review on the goggles. I will be telling you exactly what I think. However, I will not be comparing them directly to the DJI system because I just don't think it's fair to do so. I will be looking at these goggles for $250 for HD. What do I think? Compared to what I had before. So yeah, interesting times. Interesting times. A couple of the other comments on the goggles as well. One of the comments was it does feel a little bit tunneled. The display is quite far back still. It's not as bad as the original HDOs, but it's not as good as the HDOs 2. And they do say that it just seems a little set back. It's not as immersive as the DJI feel, because you know the DJI feel is like there. It does feel a little bit set back. Okay, I'll be honest on DJI. I reckon this could even be the last system they make on this. I've said it 2 times. I said it 3 times. Be under no illusion, one day DJI will abandon this system. So if you're into FPV and it bothers you that one day the manufacturer will just say, sorry, we're not making that anymore, don't buy the DJI system. They have done that with every product they have ever made. There has not been a single product they have offered support for forever. DJI is renowned for making systems that are completely incompatible with previous ones. Whilst the FPV community is quite new to DJI, those who've been flying DJI drones have seen this stuff time and time again. Or, as Bruce says, buy everything you need. And I have said that before as well. Or buy everything you need. But don't be under any illusion. DJI will end this system at some point. So, when we do have this new flourish of cameras and air units, I will be stocking up like JB has. JB's got 5 sets, the sod. Jake's been around a lot of the DJI stuff for a while. As Bruce, not so much on the ready-to-fly stuff. Look, I own an Inspire 2. I've owned the Phantom 2, the Phantom 3, the Phantom 3, both models of the Phantom 3, the Phantom 4, the Phantom 4 Pro. I've owned the Mavic Pro, the Mavic 2, the Mavic Air, the Inspire 1, a few others in between, which I won't talk about. I have had many, many DJI aircraft. History will repeat, and at some point, they will abandon it. The Inspire 1 remote was not compatible with the Inspire 2. The Mavic 1 remote was not compatible with the Mavic 2 properly. You could get video, but nothing else. The Phantoms did have a period of on the GL300 series of remotes, the GL300A, B, C, and D. So originally the Phantom 3, see, this is how sad and how much I've been involved in this. The Phantom 3 Pro and the Phantom 3 Advanced originally shipped with the GL300A. Then they moved to the GL300B production, and the difference was that they took out the FPGAs and put in custom ASICs. Then we had the GL300C, which was the first remote with the Phantom 4, which was compatible. Then the GL300D, which was another mixed one. Then you had the GL62. What's the Inspire one? 625, 623, 632. DJI are renowned for making nothing compatible. That's just what their game is. So it will happen on the FPV system at some point. It is inevitable. Phantom 3 4K, which was basically a Wi-Fi version of the Phantom 3. Well, it was the Phantom 3 standard with the Wi-Fi. So the Phantom 3 standard and the Phantom 3 4K were Wi-Fi, or enhanced Wi-Fi as they used to call it. So it wasn't using Lightbridge. Had a different remote again. The DE units are built like tanks. The DJI ones are really built well. Yeah, there's no question about it. Cameras, cross gates. Yeah, no, all I would say is this. Don't think DJI are here for the long haul of the FPV community or won't do something that makes more sense to them than us, because that's their business is that. That's how they operate. You can't... You buy a Mavic... Someone said, nah, they don't break much. They don't break much unless you set them on fire like I have once. I broke one, but I did it on the bench. I didn't even do it in flight. If anyone's upgrading, Jake, I know, I think you still here, Jake. I know you've probably had a few Mavics and Phantoms. Nothing's compatible, is it, between it? Everything you end up, battery chargers, everything is incompatible. So even if they make a version 2 FPV system, it's not going to be compatible with the version 1, I doubt. Dingbat FPV. I'm super looking forward to Orca releasing something. Something interesting on that, and I haven't mentioned that yet, and I should say this. The FR Sky, did I mention this last week, is also going to be using HD0 as well. So, the FR Sky X... Is it FR Sky... Is it the X20? Digital HD, yeah, the FR Sky H20. Where is it? Is it the X20? I think it is. Where's their website? Why is FR Sky's website? frsky.com. There we go. Just show you this. So, yeah, the X20. So the X20, the new version, which will be a digital one, will have HD0 built in as standard as well. So this, the digital version of this that was coming, and remember someone put a video out saying it's going to have DJI, it's going to have HD0 in it as well. So now I know how most people feel about FR Sky these days, and I you know what? I'm in the same boat. To be honest, I'm in the same boat with FR Sky right now as well. You know, I'm certainly not a big fan at all. But that there is going to be a Shark Bite, or not Shark Bite, but HD0 version coming. And the really interesting thing with HD0 is they're pushing stuff a lot now. They really are. Okay, let me just catch up on the chat. One thing, guys, let me just grab something out of the viewer sec. 1 second. They're not there. I thought they were there. There's that one. I was looking for something. Where's that disappeared to then? Oh, I put it in here. There it is. Okay, so just a couple of other things I'm going to show you. Now, have I got the overhead working? Let me just check. No. Turn it on. Now, guys, if you've got any questions, do put them in the chat while I sort this out. 1 second. There's 72 of you. DJI unit recording issues. No sound on video. Does the format of the video matter? It should just work. Are you playing it back, Dennis, in use VLC media player? Are you playing it in VLC? You should have audio. Just to confirm, TJ, and it's air unit, yeah, so it's air unit recording, so it should work. Right, let me just get this over. Ooh, hello. Oh, where's the focus? Oh, there it is. There it is. Just making sure I get that right. Okay, so if you've got any questions, guys, please do put them in. Let's just see what he comes back. We'll try that. Yeah. No sound. Try VLC player. It should record audio. There's no set. Is there a setting for sound in the FPV system? Just double check there isn't a setting for it as well. Just checking that there might be a setting for recording audio. I've forgotten. No, the recordings on the Vista don't, but there's no SD card. Now, guys, obviously, if there's any questions... Now, a couple of other things. I've been sent some things this week alongside what I have actually bought was these. I had this from SpeedyB, which is their frame kit. Now, let me just... because someone asked me earlier what frame it was. I've forgotten the name of it. I'll just put it up. That's the SpeedyB F225 version 2. And they've also sent me these new SpeedyB antennas as well, which I'm going to be trying out this week as well. Now, the interesting thing with these, whilst I was talking about Shark Bite, these are right-hand circular polarized antennas. Now, these aren't really any good for DJI because they're right-hand circular polarized and you'd have to change all your existing antennas. However, these are ideal for Shark Bite because the Shark Bite system is right-hand circular polarized as standard, not left-hand. So they do have these new antennas, but I've also had the new frame from them as well. So I'm looking forward to getting that together over the last couple of weeks too. Over the next couple of weeks as well. That's going to be the DJI FPV build. I am still working on the other build. which is the shark bite one, which is there, but I need the the 12 centimeter cable before I can do any more. I can't attach the camera because I haven't got the cable that's long enough, unfortunately, and that's the problem. Now, we have had a couple of other things come in this week, which is these from Vifly. Now, if we go to that one and then that one, we've had their new strobe, and I'm going to be looking at this with the FPV drone, and their new GPS, mate. Oh, we're not quite focused there. It's there we go. That's better. Here we go. So the GPS, mate, is a device that allows you to power your GPS separately. So rather than have to leave your flight battery connected for GPS to get lock, this little device from Vifly has a built-in battery, and you're actually able to then power the GPS without powering up the flight controller. So the idea is you put this between the flight controller and the GPS. So flight controller goes that side, GPS goes that side, and it has a little switch here which selects between 3 and 5 volt, and you have a power button. So when you press it, you can turn it on, and it will then power the GPS for you. So rather than leave your quad sitting down for a couple of minutes getting GPS lock and wasting your battery, you can use this to do that, and then as soon as you put your flight pack in, it automatically charges this back up, and it keeps the GPS powered up. So even when you unplug the battery, it should keep the GPS powered between packs. And yeah, no more hot VTX or anything like that waiting to get GPS lock. Really interesting bit of kit. So I'm looking forward to playing with that one over the next couple of weeks. And it also has a lost model alarm on it as well. As Bruce said, this will be essential for remote ID because you won't be allowed to take off until you've got GPS lock. Yeah, it is an interesting bit of device, whether you'll be allowed to modify the aircraft to actually put it in. And it's also got the extra feature for the buzzer as well. So you see you've got a buzzer input, so it can act as a lost model alarm too, which is a handy thing. Good to keep your category power when the battery disconnects in a crash. It's only got a 160 milliamp battery, so it's not going to keep the Cadex Air unit powered for long, unfortunately. That isn't to say you couldn't modify it with a bigger battery and do something like that. But yeah, really interesting little piece of kit, really is. So I'm looking forward to getting that in. And you know, the idea is more than anything just to allow you to actually get your GPS lock without wasting your flight battery. So cool little bit of kit. So we've got that one, and they've now released this new strobe. Now this is an LED strobe which is designed to go on to the drone. Similar to strobes from other manufacturers. This one's got 5 LEDs, 5 3-watt LEDs. So you've got 3 whites, a red and a green. It's got a USB charge port, and it's got a battery on the back as well. Actually, no, this has got the 160 milliamp hour battery. I don't know how big the battery is on that one. And the idea is it's an LED for thinging. So if I press and hold, it'll come on back to where I had it before, and it has multi-mode outputs. So at the moment it's come back on to flash in red because that's the mode I had it on. And the nice thing with this is it remembers the setting you had it on last as well. So it's on flash in red, press it again, it goes to solid red, press it again, it goes to strobing green, flashing green, solid green. This is all 5 LEDs, so that's strobing now all 5 LEDs. And then that's strobing white, flashing white, and then solid white. And then it goes back around again. So, yeah, really interesting. I'm going to be trying this out. That is a lot of light as well on that. So if you're flying at night and you want it to light up under the aircraft, it's quite a lot of light shining off the bottom of that. But you're going to be able to see this from quite a distance. Yeah, I should have probably put an epilepsy warning up on that one. I probably really should have put an epilepsy warning up on that one, just how bright it is. Sorry, Brandon. Hope you're okay, my friend. If you are in trouble, just message and we'll try and send someone around. It would be great if there was an electronic switch with the DJI Vistas because of overheating. That would... Well, in theory... Manhattan XFPV. Sendabs. It's really interesting. The Vista should sort itself out, but there are many people who don't fly it in the mode that does. Many people turn off low power mode because remember Vista has a low power mode. So I don't know how many people know this. Hello Shady, he's got a Xeon. The DJI FPV air unit and the Vista's low power mode is not the same. They are actually very, very different. So the low power mode on the DJI air unit is 25 milliwatts. The low power mode on the Vista is about 1 milliwatt. It goes right down as it overheats. So it does have a different behavior to the DJI one. And it goes into this ultra low power mode when it says it's overheating. So it goes down to 25 milliwatt, but then it goes below that again. Whereas the DJI air unit doesn't. The DJI unit pretty much stays at 25 all of the time. But so yeah, if you're interested, Firefly, really cool. I'm going to be doing a video on this one. I'm taking it away with me on holiday, so I'm going to be strapping it to the bottom of the FPV drone from DJI, and I'm going to be doing a couple of tests with it as well. And there's also like some Velcro in there as well, so cool. And then I got the Speedy B frame, which I haven't even looked at yet. It's coming this week. These are meant to be really nice frames, so I'm not going to do too much on this. This is the frame version 2. I haven't stripped this out, so you can just see. That's got awfully dark, isn't it? So you can just see stuff inside. So I'm not going to do it because I need to do a proper unboxing of this one for the content. But you can see everything's in there, labelled up very nicely. And that frame is this one here. Now, I know this does come quite highly recommended by people. People are quite interested in this one. It does look a very nice piece of kit. They have a really nice flight stack as well. I know a lot of people do like it. They have a really nice flight stack, which I won't be using on this. And then the only other thing I had in, and I haven't told you guys this, but actually it's interesting. This is now going to be the DJI frame. This wasn't going to be the DJI frame. The DJI frame was going to be the Roma, which is this here. The original plan was for this to be the DJI frame. However, I had a bit of an accident and I burnt out a brand new flight controller. Yes, it was entirely my fault. No one else's. No, I didn't use the short saver because I'm a moron. I don't need anyone else to tell me it. I know it already. I had to do a custom wiring on the flight controller to the ESC and got it 180 degrees wrong because I was having to read things upside down. And I was doing it whilst filming and I was doing 4 or 5 different things at once, and I just happened to plug in USB, which was fine, and then I wanted to plug in the flight battery for something, and I ended up putting 12 volts into... No, sorry. I ended up putting 26 volts into motor 4, rather than 24 volt... No, 124, 16. No, it was 4S. Sorry, not 8S. Here comes the excuses. I ended up putting 4S, so 16 volts, into motor 4 rather than into the power because I'd flipped it 180 degrees. Now, interestingly, there was no magic smoke, but it's killed the flight controller completely. I'm a little surprised it's killed the flight controller. I would have thought Overvolting motor output. Bruce, here's a question that I haven't been able to find an answer for too. Is the motor output directly to the SoC? I think it is, isn't it? There's nothing in between. The motor outputs are directly I/O pins on the SoC, aren't they? If I recall, there might be a protection circuit in place, but again on these flight controllers, I'm guessing the size of it. And this was the F7 Mini 2, the Holybro one. Let me just grab it. Here it is. I've got to cut the wiring off it. Not usually. No, I didn't think there would be. So if we go, and here it is. Now, there's no smoke. Now, what you will see, though, is I have had it on the bench because it's got a direct short on the 12-volt line. So I have actually done a little bit of soldering work on this. Actually, it looks very good because I've put everything back. So I've actually done a very good job on this. I removed that. I removed the barrow. I removed a few other things because there's a short on the USB line. And this little regulator here gets ridiculously hot. But the basics were, I got this connector here the wrong way around. And that's the basics. I was writing it upside down. So I've killed it. Brand spanking new. Never used. So he's a goner. Source heat sink, so no need for buffering. Not buffered usually. Most macros for source sink. No need for buffering. Yeah, I'm surprised it burnt it. On the motor, on the PWM motor output. But anyway, so that's a goner. So out with one and in with, what did I order? I've lost it. We've got another one from Maytech. We've gone for the H743 Mini because this is compatible with everything right now. Now, I haven't actually looked at this yet. This is brand spanking. I haven't even opened it. Look, it's still sealed. Still sealed along the top. Free bottle of Tinderflu. CPR is inverted on the sensor. You killed it. Yeah, I think that's what I did. Always DOA. Yeah, look, it's my fault. 100%. Off topic, does anyone know a good multi-protocol module that fits in the Mambo GR Bay? I want to fly FR Sky Whoops. I don't know. We'll have a quick, we'll have a look at the if anyone knows a good module for our friend in the, that's one of the reasons I've gone for this autopilot, is that it can run autopilot. I think, yeah, H7 is okay now. So going in, oh, look at that. You get, what are they? Interesting. And then the FC comes in this little bag. And there she is. And that's the H743 Mini. Yeah, it literally is a SoC on one side and everything else on the other. So that's going to be in the DJI build now, after my little incident. How to burn 50 quid. Running Arduino on mine, so that's them. And then this week, the only other things I've been doing is playing with the obviously the stuff for the Mambo, so Crossfire and getting that all set up and trying to get the antennas in place. So obviously we've got that now with my bit of foam holding that in. And on this, I ended up having to 3D print some parts to hold the Crossfire antennas on the bottom, and then he's gone up under there. Now, before I finish this one up, sorry, before I finish this one up, I'm going to show you one more abomination that I'm going to be using over the next couple of weeks. I've got some testing to do with some antennas and stuff on the SharkBite system. So I want to get it up and running. So I'm just going to show you a little abomination I've built. Which will make you laugh, actually. So let me get rid of it. So this will be the proper SharkBite build. It's getting there. We've got the new TX5... The new TX5 R.1. Let's get the names right on these things. We've got the flight stack in. I've got a bit of wiring left to do, which is on the receiver, which is tracer, and then the GPS as well at the back. And then I'm waiting for the longer camera cable to come down, so he'll be up and running in the next week. Then I'm going to start looking at someone... Where is it? Express LRS. I've got to start looking at that as well. But I have put together something rather... Well, the Fat Shark people will hate it, but it's quite interesting. It's not interesting. It really isn't, actually. Where have I hidden it? Is my new test bed for the other part of the SharkBite system. Here it is. And this is what I'm going to be using. So I'm going to want to be full screen for this. This is what I'm going to be using to test the SharkBite system on the DJI FPV drone. So I've 3D and the reason I'm doing this is for range testing with antennas. So the idea is this will have some self-adhesive pad on the bottom, and this has been designed to mount onto the top of the DJI FPV drone. It will be taped and cable tied around to hold it in place. I've got the Speedy B antenna on there at the moment. And then I'm going to strap a second battery underneath the DJI battery, just a small one, just to power the SharkBite system. And this is going to be one of my sort of range until I get the other one built, because I can't do anything until I get the longer cable on this, which is probably a few days away, at least a week or two. So this is to allow me to actually continue to do some of the testing when the goggles come, because the goggles will be here midweek. And I can't fly in the aircraft that is designed to go on. So I've ended up making this. I can see some fantastic intermod, cross-mod products producing unintended consequences. And the idea is it's just so I can mount the SharkBite system on the top. Signals should be fine because I'll force the DJI system onto 2.4. So it won't interfere. It's different band, so it'll be fine. Transmitter, receiver, it'll be fine. There'll be no major issues on that. 2.4 versus 5 gig. But it's also going to be allowing me to actually get it out and about and actually get flying with it. You know, people have been mounting GoPros on the top of these things. Mounting this is. When returning home... DJI will return to home when it loses image, yes. Look up receiver desensitization log. So, obviously, we're below the GPS. See, the GPS on the DJI drone is here, so we're out the way of that. We're just up above the fan there. So, obviously, in flight, we're going to be sort of like that. I've strapped stuff on the top of Mavics and stuff for years. I've never had a problem. Hell, people strap those cameras on the tops of Mavics that cause huge problems, and that's never a good idea. So no, I'm not expecting any problems on this. So that will then go over and mount there. Surely you know who Shirley is, yes. But yeah, so that's going to be going up in the next week. What's Bruce? Receiver desensitization. It's going to allow me just to get it up. Oh, the bench moved. Up and about and out and about and get it. You know, if the goggles come midweek, I want to be able to fly. I want to be able to fly and get the system up and running. And whilst this isn't perfect, well, I've got the 500 milliwatt here. So I could put the 500 in the other one. There's nothing stopping me putting the 500 in that. I've ordered the 250 to see how it goes. But we're gonna have to see. Yeah, there will always, look, there will be some effect. It's never going to be perfect, This really is to allow me to get the system in the air when the new goggles come. Although I could just strap this to the top of the FPV quad as well. So that is an option too. I could get that up finished. And just strap it to the top. The reason I wanted to do it on the FPV drone was it gives me a few interesting options for testing purposes. It's always good to have a test bed. But yeah, so I 3D printed that up at a TPU today. 3 versions it took, as always. It's never first time, is it? Okay, guys. Right, let me just put this away. I think that is it. I think I've covered everything. Really, it's down to you guys now. 500 mil. I probably will bounce between, because the changeover is fairly easy anyway, isn't it? For me to change from one to the other, it won't be a big job. Anyway, so I'm gonna test it with the 250. Is it 250, that one? I think it's 250, isn't it? TX5R.1. I'm losing track. Oh no, 200, not 250. Let's just put that up. Actually, sorry, I've lost my screens. Let's just do that a second. I'll turn that back off a sec so we can. There we go. So, there we go. Yeah, it's 200 milliwatts, 60 frames a second. It would be nice if we did have bitrate. It would be nice if we did have bitrate on these systems. But yeah, interesting. Okay, guys, right. Let me just get back to the right screen on here and get the chat up. Right, guys, really, it's over to you. Any questions? Are they still selling Mob? Why do I know Mobilus? What's Mobilus? What's that, Bruce? I've forgotten. Doing DJI drone first reduces some capacity versus stepping onto new drone. Lesser knowns. Yeah, it does. It'll allow me to just get the new goggles in the air and just have a bit of. I've got a backup in place, if you get my meaning. Don't get me wrong. If I had the cable, I'd be flying that. I just don't have the cable to put that in the air. So my problem with this right now is I've ordered what I need to finish this, but it's not going to come this week. So we need the extended cable to go from there to the front. Now, the only other option is I get this finished, I power down the TX5, and then I mount that on a flat box at the front on the top. And that's my only other option, is just to mount that on the... whilst I'm waiting for the cable to come. So I could just mount that on there and do it that way and just have it above it and then have the battery behind it. The new OSD for the VRX antenna is good on Sharkbite. Yeah, that's interesting. So that is... So yeah, I could end up doing that if I wanted to. Or I may end up doing that. But the downside to that is the antenna's at the front. You know, I could mount it here, but it's going to be looking at the battery. It's not really much use. I could mount it just right up front on the top a minute and have that up top there. That's cool. Foxy, a larger sensor. That's interesting. It is interesting, the comments on the Polar Starlight as well. You know, I said to you guys earlier about my review went up in the week, and what I did say about that camera is the image quality is really good because it has a bigger sensor than the normal camera. Now, if you haven't seen my video on it, let me just find the sensor sizes. So most FPV cameras are 1.18 sensor. Is it 1.18? Sensor size. 1/1/8 of an inch sensor size. So if we just bring this up, the Polar Starlight does have a really nice size sensor. Here we go. So is it on this one? Let me just find the chart. Now, this isn't a guarantee, okay, because they haven't published the exact size of the sensor. Okay, so if we look at this chart here, which talks about image size, sensor sizes, and there's a little chart here which is quite interesting. Now, if you look, most of the camera image sensors are either 1/2.3, close the ad, or 1/3. So they're either this or this. Most camera sensors are between these two sizes. If we look at like Runcam, let's look at the Runcam MIPI. For instance, we go down to the MIPI. They're saying, actually, they didn't say the sensor size on this camera. That's interesting. I remember now. They didn't actually say it. All they said was that one. If we go to Cadex and we go to the Nebula Pro, for instance, which was, you know, we knew was a good sensor. So it's a 1/3 of an inch CMOS sensor on that one. So we're talking that size there. So that's a really small sensor. That's a really, really small sensor. Whereas if you look, the Polar sensor is 1/1/8, which is this sensor here. It is a lot bigger. Now, just to give you guys an idea, most DJI camera drones are using, like the Mavic Minis, are using 1/2.3 sensor. So if we go to DJI.com, so the camera drones are using a slightly larger sensor. So if we go to the A2S, for instance, and go specification, oh no, sorry, not the A2S, that's a 1 inch. Mini 2, Mini 2. There's the same sensor they've used on a lot of their basic drones for a long time. We go to the camera. Yeah, 1/2.3. So that's usually the sensor size they're using on their drones, is these ones here. But a lot of the FPV cameras are using a smaller sensor, which is this 1/3 of an inch. But the sensor on the Polar Starlight is 1/1/8, which is substantially bigger. Now, it's the same megapixels. So what it means is each individual pixel is larger, which allows it to gather more light, which is how it's able to do its thing. Now, what's interesting is it gives a really nice image quality, a really, really nice image quality on this. And it is because we've got that slightly larger sensor overall. But yeah, when you are comparing, you know, if we look at that, so the Nebula Pro is a 1/3 of an inch sensor. If we go to HD cameras and then we look at, you know, Nebula Nano, which we know wasn't great. What size did they say in that? Again, 1/3 of an inch sensor. And then you've got the new micro air unit version. If we go down on this one, and they say again, and this is basically got a Nebula Pro, but it's a 1/3 of an inch. So, yeah, it is interesting, the differences, and the Nebula Pro does give that. But again, sorry, the Polar Starlight. But again, the only problem with the Polar Starlight is that damn, that fundamental issue for me is the moving auto white balance. I know if you're fine with the GoPro, it's not an issue, but it is on that. Okay, right, let's push that forward and let's have a look at the chat. Boca might improve my flying. Ghost FPV, the battery staring at the camera might improve my flying. It certainly would for me. So my only concern is just mounting it on the top. I don't really see the benefit of just not mounting it on top of the DJI FPV drone, other than it being a lot easier to do, mount it on the top of the actual quad. Jake, extra funny leaks. I did see a question. Mike Butler, have I tried selling apps on the Crystal Sky? I would my Crystal Sky your husband. Yes and no. Okay. Yes, I have sideloaded apps. It will run them. It's open to installing apps as long as the apps do not require Google Play services. So, if the app needs Google Play services, it won't run. But apps that don't need Google Play services may run. But just remember, the Crystal Sky is Android 5 and it's getting really old in the tooth now. So you can download, you can just put them on an SD card and place them on. DJI unlocked the ability to load apps on it a while back in one of the early firmware releases, but it has to be an app that doesn't use Google Play services. Yeah. The Nebula Nano is similar to the current Sharkbite. Yeah, I think probably you're being a little unfair to the Sharkbite system. The Nano is shockingly bad. I will be honest, the Nano is absolutely terrible. I've got one here and it's just thing. MacVision 3D, good evening. How are you, my friend? Similar, I'd say Sharkbite's a bit better than that thing. That camera is just shite. Utter shite. It really is. Who would have thought in the 21st century sensors would still be measured in inches? And even then, Bruce, innit? That measurement on sensors is complete nonsense. If anyone ever wants a rabbit hole to go down, right, read how camera sensors are measured. And what you think is 1 inch is not 1 inch. It's measured in a vacuum, like a vacuum tube on a telly. It's shocking. I tell you, Philip Bloom has an amazing video on this of late, actually. Philip Bloom, let me find it. Philip Bloom has a video on this sensor size. Where is it? Anyone, you gotta love Philip. He's an amazing video guy. Right, where is it? There's a video on here somewhere. I haven't seen it. Do you know, it's weird. YouTube's been hiding his content from me. It's really frustrating. Right, where is it? There's a video he made on camera sensors. And there you go. The hypothetical truth about the 1 inch sensor. Casey would make a fantastic video on that, wouldn't he? Casey would. Do you know it's weird, right, Bruce? YouTube's been hiding all the camera guys from me recently. Bloody annoying. It really is annoying at times. But if you're interested in learning more about the convoluted method, and I can't remember, it's something like it's measured as they used to measure a film tube. Sorry, it's been a long day. Measure a film tube, and it's. I might have to find it now. It's how they measure it. Ken Rockwell. Oh, Ken Rockwell. Ken Rockwell's another fantastic guy if you've come across him. Okay, so what's the term they use? How do they get away with this? Yes, so there were many different kinds. They used to measure it like measuring the overall diameter of the glass tube that the image was. Vacuum tubes could take a picture of glare. One of the ways, only one thing about 1-inch sensor was the vacuum tube 50 years ago. Yeah, so the vacuum tube had an outside diameter of about 1 inch. It's a horrible thing. Only on FPV. Wasn't too far wrong, this. BB Junkie, yeah, that's it. The algorithm is hiding camera. The camera has it reckons you're more likely to spend money on FPV. It wasn't too far wrong this week. It wasn't. It wasn't. I have spent so an inch is diagonal. Yeah, it's. Does anyone watch Camera Conspiracy? He's funny. Camera Conspiracy is amazing. Yeah. No. Look, me and Bruce, I am big into my photography and cameras as well. I haven't done much at all recently. Funny enough, because I'm going away. Here is packed my camera gear to go. I got to open the bag because I got to put something in. But here is my baby, my Lumix S5, which I bought this year. That's what's going to be coming away with me. That is my baby at the moment. I see Panasonic have officially announced the GH6 this week for the camera guys in the stream as well. I won't be getting a GH6. I have it. That's a GH5. My overhead is a GH5. Was my main filming camera. Still is my main filming camera, to be honest. My GH5. I've not had a lot of love for it recently. I don't know why. I've sort of been using this. There's a reason for this, and I'll finish tonight's video up on boring YouTube talk. So for the guys who don't want boring YouTube talk, thank you for spending the time with me. I appreciate it. Your support and everything is massively. So I no longer record any of my content other than the more detailed product stuff directly on the camera. I am doing almost everything now through OBS, and the reason I'm doing this is time. I'm able to put out far more content quicker than trying to record onto SD card because I mess up a lot of stuff. I get a lot of stuff wrong. So close to all of my talking stuff, everything I talk at now with me in view is recorded as you're seeing on the live stream, just recorded to the hard drive rather than streamed at a higher bit rate. I don't record onto SD anymore, and I've done that to save me time. Now, I'm not 100% happy with it, but the benefits outweigh the downsides for me, because I have this camera permanently set up virtually, so I can just hit a button, it's on. I can hit a button here now, it'll start recording to the hard drive. I can do a talking head bit and carry on. Cut straight to the smoke and action. It just allows me to not mess around with SD cards. I'm not happy with it, but it is something I've learned I need to do to allow me to be able to get done what I need to done in a faster manner. However, as a result of that, I'm using the GH5 much less, because the GH5 is there, it's on the overhead today, and it's just now become relegated to sort of an overhead with the Sony doing most of the camera piece and that being used for the detailed shots. For the bigger videos I do, the more in-depth stuff where you've got more product shots, don't get me wrong, I record it on the GH5 in 4K and I use that to do it a lot that way. But I have found myself making the content more like a live stream than out and out creative recording. And I do miss it. I do miss the creative side, and it's because of time. It's purely time. I love the complex workflow. Yeah, I do. It was just my problem was I was constant back and forth. You know, the thing is with this setup I've got now, just get this all in the right place. Let me just get the actual YouTube bit up. The thing I've got with the setup now is this is all working. So I've got the camera into the A10 Mini. which goes into OBS. I've got multiple cameras, so I can switch between the cameras. So for you guys, let me just find OBS. You know, I can go to the overhead. Oh, she's turned off because it was on battery. It's turned off. But I have got a power button for that. I've got a power supply for that as well. And then I can go to the desktop simply on a push. So everything is set up nice and easily. So when I'm recording, it's like that. But I'm not 100% comfortable. Now, where I may end up in this, and this is where what I'm exploring next, is recording to something like a Atmos. However, that then poses the other problems that I have of multi-resolutions because the A10 Mini is 1080p only. Now, I would love to be fully recording in 4K again, like I used to. There are some nice advantages to recording in 4K. Although, if you watch Tony's videos, Tony Northrup, they openly said they went back to 1080p. So I could be tempted. I could be tempted to go back to 1080p. But we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see. But yeah, I do miss the SD card stuff as well. I do miss it, Bruce, because it was just, you know, literally now, right? I can hit record, do it, stop record, drag it into Resolve and edit it and carry on. And it really is that quick and easy. It really is that quick and easy. Anyway, that's the boring YouTube talk. Anyway, good evening, Failsafe FPV. I hope you are safe and well. Right, guys, it's 10 to midnight. I'm going to wish you all a fantastic week. In the middle of this week, part 1 of the Shark Bite build will be coming up on the channel. It's ready to go. It's live. It's there. That one will go up on Tuesday. I'll probably put up a video Thursday while I'm out and about. I'll probably record it out and about and just toss it up. I'll probably talk a bit on the Mambo on that, or just some stuff. I am taking the goggles with me as well, so I'll probably put a video up on Thursday because I've been doing 2 a week at the moment. I have got another video I can send live if I want to, but I'll probably keep that for next week because I'm not going to have much. I'm 1 week off. I've been lucky. I've had quite a bit of content in the can, but I'm beginning to run out, which is good because I can catch up on the other stuff then. So the FPV drone build's middle of the week, and I'll probably do an out and about video. I think. So I'll be out and about, and I'll probably put one up then. A massive thank you to everyone who has watched. If you are new here, please do hit the subscribe button if you want to support the channel. There are links. A massive thank you to Jake and the super chats and everyone else who has given a super chat as well. Massive, massive thank you. Massively appreciated. Please stay safe, guys, and I will speak to you guys again soon. Hit button 1, hit button 2.